So then guys, it's been a week with living with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I've been using it as my main phone every single day for calls, messages, filming, videos, gaming, everything. You name it, I've been using it like my normal phone. And in my 48-hour review, I was seriously impressed, but living with this phone for a week has shown me even more reasons why I'm in love with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And with that, let's get started and let's talk about the design first of all. So the actual body of this phone is made out of that new aluminum uni body. And you know, I'm gonna say this, it does feel better in the hand to have this material. And yes, it does feel quite premium as well, but so did titanium with it. Now, the other thing what I was going to say with that is that obviously I've spoke about this in my other videos, and a lot of other people have also spoke about this, that we've got this new kind of scratch gate issue, that the new iPhones do scratch really easily, especially around the camera plateau, what we'll talk about in just a moment, and around the edges. Now, I'm going to say this, I put my phone in a case from day one. But what I am going to say, where I stand here a bit on the fence, obviously you should put your phone in a case, but I just don't think it's fair that, you know, the edges of the phone should start scratching off. Now, this is the other thing what you've got to remember, that even if you put your phone in a case, it could be that the edges could start rubbing in your case here. Remember, a case can't fully protect out your phone 100%. So it's going to be interesting even seeing with phones living in a case, what is going to happen in the future, especially around the edges, if it's going to start to chip off, or that if you take off your case, clean it and put it back on, that your actual case might rub the edges and might even start to scratch it. We just don't know at this stage, but it is going to be an interesting one to note here as we go into the next few months. But moving on from that negative, let's talk about the rest of the design. One of the big other changes we got with this phone, and something what I actually really do love now, is the full width camera plateau. It balances out the phone perfectly now when it's lying flat on the table, so it doesn't really wobble as much. And then also just look at this. So the great thing is, if you use your phone like I'm using it now, I can put my fingers underneath this plateau and you'd be surprised how useful that is. Even if you have it in the case, because obviously it will bulge out there, it's really useful. And I understand why now, say, Google Pixel owners love this, because it is fantastic to actually have this bit here to rest your fingers on to actually use your phone, especially like a Pro Max phone, what's two-handed, it is dead useful to have. So with the design, I think everything is really, really nice, but we're just gonna have to keep an eye on those scratches, because one thing I'm also a little bit concerned about with the scratches is obviously if you do trade in your phone in a year or a few years time from now, that, you know, there might be complaints there because of the scratches to the actual color there. And like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see how much a case will actually protect the phone from edging kind of scratching, because obviously, like I said, when you take off the cover and put it back on, you are rubbing it on the edges there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. But let's move on then. Let's talk about the display next of all. Now, the display has been a real joy to use all week. That 6.9-inch Super Retina XDR with ProMotion is buttery smooth. And in direct sunlight with those 3000 nits of peak brightness, it has made it so much better. The only one little complaint I would actually have here is that obviously it's quite hard in artificial light to turn up the brightness. It kind of knows that your phone knows that you're outside to actually get that. You have to have like direct sun directly onto your screen for actually to peak out, and that's when you will notice the difference. Now, obviously Apple have also said there's an anti-reflective display, but again, in artificial light, I can't really see it at all, I'll be honest here. But like I said, I think that obviously the 3000 nits brightness is definitely helping out enough here. But then after this, onto software, and out of the box we had iOS 26, and it feels faster and smoother with the new liquid glass animations. And over the week I've customized the way how I like it, and also changed things like how I like to have my actual apps tone differently and things like this. And obviously it's not really eating into my battery life too much, I've noticed, with iOS 26. It's like it's been built for this phone. Phone signal, Wi-Fi 7 has also been rock solid. The N1 chip in this has been great for Wi-Fi connectivity. I've had no problems there. And also I have transferred the odd file on USB-C, and that's been great too. It's just as good as the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the 16 Pro Max. But then let's next of all talk about cameras. Now the iPhone 17 Pro Max, in just one word, the cameras are superb. They are amazing. This year, do remember, we got 3 48 megapixel fusion camera sensors this time, and they are crisp in daylight shots, impressive low lights, and that 8x optical zoom is absolutely fantastic. And in fact, have a look here at some of the demos of the pictures that I have taken throughout the week with it here. This is a zoom here on the hill. Let's have a quick look here. You can see this is 0.5 zoom here. Then this was a 1x zoom, and then there was a 2x zoom, and then we have that new 4x zoom in here, and then the 8x zoom, and then even if you start pushing up the digital zoom up to 10x, this looks super impressive. The old 25x zoom even does super well, and this is how far, say, an iPhone 16 Pro Max could go up to, but then you can push it up to 40x zoom there. And like I said, this is really impressive. Now, personally, I wouldn't be using that 40x zoom because as much as it's great, it can go that far, the pictures just start to fall apart here. And to be honest, even if you've got a rival, say Samsung or Google phone, even I'd say after about 30x zoom, it starts to fall apart. I would actually personally say with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, I wouldn't go beyond, say, 30x zoom. Personally, I would even probably say stick to 25x zoom, what you can do with this phone, and you still get some relatively good pictures with it. But then what about videos? Well, videos are super impressive too with their zoom capability. And in fact, there's an extra dual camera mode too. And actually, let's have a look at some samples first of all, zoom and then the dual camera mode. Check this out. So I'm on the iPhone 17 Pro Max here. This is a 0.5x zoom, but if I punch it up to a 1x zoom, you can see the zoom. Can you see the windmill in the background there? It's quite far away, but we're going to punch it right up to a 2x zoom. That's where we're at there. Then a 4x zoom, you can see it even more clearer. And then we can push it all the way up to the 8x zoom there. This is the optical range that Apple are saying here. But there is the digital zoom, and we can actually go all the way up to a 24x digital zoom with video. You know, I'm trying to keep it stable here, but yeah, that does quite a good job there. And also, just to show you guys, this is the dual camera mode option. I think this is pretty cool. So you can actually see me. This is what I'm seeing here, the zoom. Let's see, there's my hand. See? Look at that, that's pretty cool. And just want to show you here, look, so this is 0.5. I can go up to the 1x, the 2x. Oh, I went up to 4 there, but there we go. That's 4x instead then. But then obviously you've got the 8x zoom there. And then obviously I can still do that pinch ups kind of zoom up to the 24x zoom, just to show you guys there. That is what you can actually do with this phone. Well, it's pretty neat. Now, another addition what's been added to all the iPhone 17s this year was the brand new 18 megapixel camera on the front. And to be honest, I'm not really a big selfie person out there, but it has been great with the few tester pictures that I've done. I do love the ability now that we can change it from landscape to portrait kind of mode without actually having to flick around the phone. This is so handy. And I'm going to say there's probably loads of other phone companies out there are probably going to copy this because it is so good to actually have this mode. And the pictures come out quite well too. But next of all, let's talk about performance. And this is where Apple really flexes out. The A19 Pro chip has stayed continuously fast all week for me. I have done multiple Geekbench and Tutu stress tests during that time, just to make sure that obviously after my phone's cached all its data and things like this, to see if we get any big drops. And I'm going to tell you this now, no it hasn't. It has done fantastic in its scoring, as you can see right here for both benchmarks. And even in real day use, I have noticed, of course, zero slowdown with this. And I have noticed this with all previous phones. So obviously, if you get a brand new phone, you're not going to get any slowdown whatsoever. But then for actual cooling on this phone, we do have that vapor chamber and it's doing quite a good job there. I think for me, the only time I've noticed it getting really warm is obviously running those benchmarks. But the other time I noticed it was when I was actually doing video recording for say more than say 8 minutes at one time. You start to notice the phone is starting to get warm in your hands there. But this is better than before, because I remember like the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it would probably be about 3 to 4 minutes when it would start to feel warm in my hands. But then the next question you might be asking about is, how has battery life been during this week? Well, battery life, I'm going to say this, has blown my mind. It has been definitely the best battery life I have probably seen in a smartphone that has, say, a top range chip in it, top range cameras and things like this. There's obviously mid-range phones out there will have, say, 7,000 milliamp battery with a mid-range chip, or, you know, not so good cameras, but as a flagship, it has been absolutely amazing. So much so that I even had one point where I used the phone all day, and then when I went to bed that night, I still had, say, 40% battery left on it. Then the next morning when I woke up, I had about 37% battery, and I actually decided to put the phone on charge when I got to about 20% charge, and that was still about halfway into my actual daytime day, about midday in it. So this was really impressive. Battery life is fantastic on this. And do remember, I've also got the SIM version of this phone, not the eSIM version. So this is with that too. So this has been great. And then after this, for charging up this phone, now I have once or twice used USB-C charging, and it does do a very fast job in charging it, but mainly I've been using MagSafe charging because I now have a MagSafe charger, what is Qi 2.2, and it does this at 25 watts, and this has been great for me. I've noticed definitely a difference between 15 watts to 25 watts, even on wireless charging, and it's been fantastic. And I'm going to say that for you now, if you're going to get yourself a Pro Max and you're worried that obviously that wireless charging is not going to do the trick for you, well, it will, as long as you have a 25 watt wireless charging. But if you don't actually have that, then obviously I would probably still stick to USB-C, but I would again say you need to really plug it into a 40 watt or 60 watt charger to make sure you're definitely going to get those speeds to actually fill up your phone quickly. If you plug it into a standard 18 watt charger that was sold with iPhones a few years ago, yeah, you're not really going to benefit much from that. Now, of course, the phone must come with some negatives too, and I've already spoken about one of them, and that's to do with the scratching on this phone, and I am a bit concerned with that, especially like even saying cases may even start to scratch this if you take them off and on or swap them, as it were. But the other thing I'm going to say with this phone is that obviously using it two-handed is one thing for some people, that I'm okay with it, but some people don't like using that you have to hold the actual phone in your hand and then use your fingers to actually use it. Some people don't like that. And then the other thing I was going to say is that a lot of dust does gather around this plateau up here. Even with a case on it as well, it gets in there. So this is one of my other complaints. But apart from this, I think the actual phone has been amazing. And it's definitely the best iPhone I've ever tested out. Normally when Apple bring out a new iPhone every year, obviously it is definitely an advancement on the previous model, but it always feels a bit more like a polished version of the previous one. But I would say this time it feels just a little bit more than polished. That's how I feel about the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and that's what I will leave this conclusion on. It is a great phone, and if you love having an iPhone, would love to have an iPhone, and the best one out there, you cannot go wrong with an iPhone 17 Pro Max. And on that note as well, guys, it's time to wrap up this video too. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. As always, if you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews, and comparisons, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.